Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be doing some shorter-term technical analysis on Bitcoin rather than talking about all the stock markets and altcoins and everything else. In today's video, we are going to be drilling in, zoning in, honing in, whatever the term is, on Bitcoin, and I'm going to be showing you a signal that I watch for when Bitcoin is looking like it's about to have a reversal, and unfortunately, that signal just flashed a bearish reversal warning. You will probably remember to about 2 weeks ago when the apocalypse happened and every single market jumped off a cliff. Yeah, exactly like that. And after that, Bitcoin started to put in a bit of a bounce. It was trying to recover, but unfortunately, as we've seen, Bitcoin fell 45% in the span of like 24 hours, and in 2 weeks we've not been able to rally back up above $7,000 where we were sitting before this entire thing happened. Unfortunately, even though it was a very strong bounce, and indeed one of the strongest bounces that I've seen out of any market, it doesn't seem like it's enough. So we're going to be diving into that technical analysis in today's video, and I think you guys are going to really get a lot of value out of today's video. If you do, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that. Wouldn't want you to miss any of our future videos. Well, without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Today's video, I was talking about investing in some altcoins, and I was talking about putting several $1,000s into them, and I did go ahead and invest in some altcoins. In case you were curious, those would be Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP, and Basic Attention Token. I'm pretty happy with the holding I have right now in those, and I'm looking to put quite a bit more in, although I already have a significant investment in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But yesterday, a rental property up for sale actually came to my attention, so I went and looked at that, so that actually might be where a lot more of my money will be going over the next couple of months. I'm still not decided on whether or not I want it, but the finances work out, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and dive on into some technical analysis, shall we? Guys, on March the 12th, Bitcoin lost half of its value. We dropped 50%, and you know, things just really haven't been the same since then. Ever since then, like I said, Bitcoin has put in a very respectable bounce. I mean, from bottom to top, absolutely, we bounced 75% in less than 2 weeks. There's not another market that I am aware of that has done that. But unfortunately, I am not convinced that it is enough. You will probably remember to a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about these downtrends right here. We have resistance right there. Our $7,800 resistance is still in play, technically speaking. That's exactly where we broke, so that definitely means that it's important. We even have flat levels of resistance at $6,900, which is where we found support back over here, and that's exactly where we rejected this time in late March of 2020. And as you can see, the VPVR is not quite in our favor either, there being quite a lot of resistance very, very close above us. The fact of the matter is, guys, Bitcoin fell very, very, very far. We literally broke just about every single level of support known to the cryptocurrency market, and that means that our recovery is going to take a little while. And considering what's going on in the world right now, I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to happen just yet. I've said this for the last couple of weeks. I think that before Bitcoin manages to go on another rally and go back up to $14,000, which I think will happen, we're probably going to go back down and test the 200 weekly simple moving average. Let me show you what that looks like before we dive into the rest of this. That would be this moving average right here. It's currently sitting at $5,570, and as you can see, that is roughly where we bounced earlier on in the month, and I'm very happy to see that, but I don't know that that's going to be the end of it. I cannot stress to you enough the importance of that moving average. It is incredibly important. And by the way, another moving average that's very important is actually the 50 monthly simple moving average. That's about a 4-year moving average in a very similar way that the 200 is. It's a little bit different on its prices, but it seems to have the same effect. No one talks about it though, so I want to bring it to your attention. Bitcoin found support at it here in 2015 and here in 2019 as well, and its support level is just a little bit lower, around $5,150. So if we breach the 200, maybe we could pull back to the 50 monthly. Hopefully. While we're out here on the monthly chart, I might as well show you the 20 monthly exponential moving average. That's about a 1.5 year long exponential moving average. As you can see, we had been above that for a very long time, which is why I was arguing that we may not have even exited the bull market just yet. We might have been in a prolonged period of accumulation following the major run-up we saw in the early part of 2019, but now we are pretty far below it. It's currently sitting around 73. We're currently sitting around 62, so I think it's safe to say that we've breached that. Let's see how the monthly candlestick closes in a couple of days. Anyway, as for the technical indicator that's flashing, I want to go ahead and show you that because it's actually a very important one, and it's actually one that we've covered in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy at length. If you're interested, the link is in the description down below. I normally don't show this on camera because it's extremely powerful and I'd like to reserve it for our students, but at a time like this, we're holding nothing back. I want to show you guys exactly what's going on here. If we come up here and switch our candlestick type to Heikin-Ashi, and then we bring up the MACD, we're going to see something very interesting. Whenever the Heikin-Ashi changes color or the MACD changes its direction based on the histogram, you're typically looking at a trend reversal. They're both trend reversal indicators, but when you pair both of them together, you get a very powerful trend reversal indicator because they rule false signals out from each of them. And when I'm pairing these two together, I do look at the MACD crosses, but I'm actually more interested in the histogram color change. And as you can see, over the last 2 days, the Heikin-Ashi has turned red from about a week and a half of green, and now the MACD has started to converge bearish on itself as shown by that histogram bar. That might not seem like a lot, but that is a very strong indicator that we are heading farther to the downside. That doesn't happen very often unless it actually means something. Now, that prediction is made for about 5 to 15 days from what I found on the daily chart. It's probably going to result in at least 3 more days of downtrend, but after that, we might start to bounce again. I'm looking at least another 3 days of general bearish trend here. And a lot of that has to do with fundamentals also, guys. And by the way, when I say fundamentals, I'm not talking about hash rate. I'm not talking about the news in this space. I'm not talking about adoption. I'm talking about the crisis that the entire world is facing right now and the economic repercussions that are going to come from it. One of the reasons that we haven't been doing a lot of this kind of technical analysis on Bitcoin is because, quite frankly, it is important, but it's not the most important thing, so I'd rather be spending my time appropriately. But anyway, there's that signal for you, and also if you look at the MACD on a normal candlestick, you can see that, well, it's converging on itself, which means that a bearish cross might be coming relatively soon. The RSI is trending to the downside when it's already below 50. That is bearish. And like I said earlier, you can see we've rejected at $6,900. One thing that I do find relatively interesting, however, is what's out here on the weekly chart with these oscillators as well. As you can see, this green candlestick right here from the 16th of March through the rest of that week was actually one massive spinning top. Bitcoin managed to have another week of bullishness. This week will more than likely close green, but from there, I think this spinning top's effects are still going to push us to the downside, because if you have a really strong trend, a spinning top can sometimes act as kind of a continuation pattern rather than a pattern of indecision. Contrary to that, though, however, you will see that the MACD histogram down here on the weekly chart is not diverging as quickly as it used to be. Note the difference in the distance between the first histogram bar here that was red and the second one, and then the second one to the third one. They're not diverging as quickly, which means that they might actually start converging relatively soon if we manage to continue trending, just trading anywhere above $6,000. Those will probably start to come together starting at the beginning of next week. At the end of the day, guys, everything I just said is important. It's very important to be looking at your technical indicators. It's very important to be doing the analysis and trading based off of it when you can. But it is also very important to understand that technical analysis is not the main thing driving Bitcoin right now. In a normal market where the news isn't, where the entire economy isn't on the brink of collapse, the news does matter, but it doesn't matter necessarily quite as much as the technical analysis on a day-to-day standpoint. Right now, there is such a major fundamental driver of money going on in the global economy that it does have a major impact on Bitcoin. And some people have been talking about how, oh, you're spending so much time talking about what's going on in America. I am spending a lot of time talking about what's going on in America. The whole world is facing this right now. This is not an American crisis. This is a global crisis, especially the first world. I talk about American news a lot because 45% of you guys are American, and I can't keep up with the news on every single continent. And also on top of that, the fact is, most countries, their monetary policy follows America. Most of their policy follows America's lead. There's a reason that every single air traffic controller on planet Earth has to speak English. What happens in America, you can bet, is going to happen in the rest of the world. And the exact same kind of bailouts that we're talking about here in America are also being proposed, passed, and happening over in the European Union, where a vast majority of you guys also are. So look, the entire point of this video is not to completely diss technical analysis. It is very important, and don't get me wrong, technical analysis is a skill that you need now, you will need in the future, you will have needed 10 years ago, you're going to need it no matter where you go, no matter where you are. If you're dealing with the market, you need to be able to look at it from a technical standpoint, because that is the language of charting. If you don't speak the language, good luck getting a job and making money in it. But for this special period right now, this is probably the only time, in fact, in the entire 2.5 years, nearly 3 years now, that I've been in cryptocurrency, this is actually the first time that I would say there has been an extended period of time, over like 2 or 3 days, where the news and the fundamentals and what's going on the outside world actually matters more than the technicals. Right now, the technicals are following the price movement, and the price movement is almost completely following the news and the fundamentals and the developments going on in the economy, rather than that price movement necessarily following the technicals. That doesn't happen very often, often, but that's what seems to be happening right now. So I'm going to encourage you guys, keep up with the news, but also make sure that you're keeping your sanity, because when you're reading a lot of this stuff, it can get pretty scary. I will give you some good news, though, and that is that every day that passes, we're one day closer to the end of this. And no matter what happens to the economy, no matter what happens to our countries and our nations and the entire world, humans have a pretty good tendency of bouncing back from it. We have been through a lot. Like, I mean, seriously, the kind of things that the human race has survived and thrived through is remarkable. And of course, there are problems right now. I mean, there are people yelling at each other on the Senate floor for the first time in a long time. There's all kinds of craziness going on in Congress. What's going on right now as far as the news is concerned is obviously terrible and probably one of the largest humanitarian crises that we have seen in the first world in a century. And if it's not there yet, it might get there soon. But I want you to remember back to the hardest thing that you ever dealt with, the hardest thing that you ever went through, the most painful experience you ever had. I want you to think back to that. I don't care how old you are. You might be 15 years old. I don't know. Think back to the hardest thing that you've ever dealt with. Maybe you've lost somebody, maybe you lost your job, maybe you lost your business, maybe something terrible happened as far as a relationship is concerned. I know what I'm thinking about. I'm gonna keep it to myself. Now think about how painful it was and how you might have been thinking at that time, I can't make it through this. There's no way I can make it through this. This is just too much. I cannot handle this. Now I want you to think about how long ago that was. Was it a week ago? Was it a month ago? Was it 20 years ago? I don't know how long ago it was, but if you're thinking about it, because of the way I formatted that question, you either got through it or you are getting through it. If you're so caught up in the present and you're not thinking about the long-term future and how everything is going to continue going back to normal as time passes, it's going to be very hard for you to keep a sane mental state through all of this, because it is difficult, don't get me wrong. But I want to make sure you guys are taken care of as far as your technical analysis and your news in cryptocurrency and markets, as well as your mental health, because it does matter a whole lot. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to me. My email is right here, right there. cryptojeb@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I might not be able to get back to all of them, but I will try and read all of them. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I love you guys. If you did enjoy today's video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that, and I would be very appreciative if you did. But like I said, that will have to conclude today's video. I do first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.